Hi art students. Today we're going to do Godzilla of the Week and then we're going to get right into our art. Okay, so the votes were only 2 for Godzilla 54, 12 for Godzilla 62, 14 for Baragon. Baragon's the winner. And Legion only got 11. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. I'm going to show you Baragon is the ultimate winner, so I'm going to show you Baragon today. Then next week we're not going to have a quiz because it's a lot to keep track of. So I'm just going to do the second place winner, Godzilla 1962, and I'll show you him next week. So today is Baragon, okay? And then next week, no voting. Okay, so here he is. Here's Baragon. He's huge. So he's pretty cool. You can see he's much larger than the other ones. Look at this cool, like, dinosaur spine detail. You got a lot of, and look, you got this kind of grid texture. It looks really good. Grid texture on his belly. It looks pretty sweet. The cool thing about these models is that they based them, like, they researched the original costumes. These were costumes. And they got these, like, very close. And they look really good. So, like, this would have been really hard to do if this was, like, 5 feet tall. So that's why they kind of have this simple texture stuff, like the grid and stuff. And it looks pretty cool. That's why they kind of look goofy sometimes. These were hard to make back in the day. This is, like, from, like, the 1960s. So that's, like, how many years ago is that? 60 years ago? It's a long time ago. So, anyways, I think Baragon had his own movie, maybe, but he was also in Destroy All Monsters, which is pretty sweet. He was on Monster Island. So, see eye detail? Let's see. Oh yeah, look at that. That's pretty sweet. I can't figure out. Oh, there. Right. Eye detail. Okay, focus, focus. It's not focusing. Oh well. Anyways, that's Baragon. He's pretty cool. Okay. Let's get on to the art portion of today. Hi, fourth graders. I have a different camera angle. Boy, it looks like I'm still pretty loud here. I'm going to turn this down. And let's try this new camera angle for the work. We're going to continue working on our Scratch Owl and talk about the details. This is due next week, so I'm not going to finish everything, but I'll show you, like, I'll do one wing and then you'll finish the other wing. The other wing will be the same. And I'll kind of finish like this eyebrow and you'll do this eyebrow too, right? But you'll finish this owl. And let's see how this works. And let me say, you guys did a great job on those Swatch watches. Those were amazing. So you guys are really doing great. So great job, everybody. You guys are doing awesome. Okay, well, let's first you can pick up your paper clip. Now you'll notice that from last time I traced out my circles. So I traced out my circles, I traced out my other feathers here, and I traced out some lines on his feet. So if you need to do that, just pause the video and you can trace out these circles, these feathers, these lines on his feet, all right? And then we will continue. So pause right now. Okay, so now we're going to keep going. So let's start with the feathers, right? You'll notice that I have a feather over here kind of pre-done. And we want to add some feathers. Well, we want to add feather detail too, because we have the feather shapes, right? But we want to add the detail. So how do we do it? The first thing we want to do is we're going to draw for every feather, there's going to be a line down the middle. So a line down the middle. And it doesn't have to be perfectly straight. Sometimes they curve. They kind of curve a little. So like if this feather is kind of going this way, it can kind of curve this way a little bit. Well, that was a little too much. They're kind of straight. It's okay if they bend a little. So I'm going to add these lines. Sometimes they're hard to see, like in this purple area. It's kind of hard to see. You can pause the video and do this if you want. See, these are kind of curving a little along the wing. Oh, and then we got some like little tip feathers here. Yeah, we'll talk about those later. Okay. I'm not going to do these, but these feathers will be the same as these feathers. Okay. Then what we want to do is we want to add like these little details in the feather. And so they're at an angle, and they go down at an angle. So let's see. And you want to add more lines like this. Like this is correct. Like I didn't add enough lines here. So here, let me add some more lines on this one. Yeah, that's way better. It almost looks like a hair. It almost looks like hair. Yeah, that's it. Okay. So I just add these lines. This is called hatching. Hatching. That's the official name for it in art language. Now watch what I'm going to do. It depends on how you, like I can scratch this way, but I guess it's working. It's a little harder. What I was going to say is I don't care how you do your feather detail, but it's easier to scratch this way. And then what I can do, like scratch down that way, and then I can flip it. Oh, maybe it's not going to work. Or maybe I can go to a side. Yeah. So whatever's easier for you, but you want your feather details to kind of go down. It's like an arrow pointing up, kind of, but the lines are kind of going down. In fact, I'm just going to do it this way on a side view. Yeah, you can see it. Let me see if I can be a little closer. Yeah, these look really neat. Oh, I didn't put a line here. Now, it's okay if these, let me see if I can, let's see. Oh my gosh, I didn't add my lines here. I missed this row. It's okay if they're a little curvy. Let me, that kind of makes them look more, the proper word is volumetric. But what's the fourth grade word? The fourth grade word is, it looks like the feather bends a little bit. You're like, oh no, Mr. Smith, I know the word volumetric. It's fine. You can use those complicated art terms with me. Okay, good, I will. Yeah, the proper term is volumetric, meaning it follows the shape. It follows the curve, but it bends. It just looks like, so here, let me show you. It just looks like the feather bends a little bit, and that's kind of neat, right? Okay. If your parents aren't watching this, you can show them this later, and you can say, see the detail lines in my feather, they bend, and that creates a volumetric effect. You can say that's a volumetric effect. And you can impress your parents. They'll be like, what? What's that? I'm just kidding. They'll probably know what that means. Okay. Oop, I got to go this way for this guy. Can you still see what I'm doing? Let's see. Oh. But it's hard to see in the purple area. Like, oh my goodness. That's okay. That's just the way the scratch board is. Let's see. This is a real nice effect. I'm only going to do the one wing, okay? But you'll do both. And take your time. Make it awesome. You guys are doing so good in this class. So just take your time and make this owl like the awesomest ever. Because you guys are really impressing me. Notice how I'm doing one side. I'm doing this side because it's easier for me to scratch that way, and then I turn my paper, and then I do the other side. You can do it however it is easier for you to draw your lines or to scratch your lines, but this is the easiest for my paper clip because it's working. Sometimes you have to turn these paper clips a certain way to get it to act or behave a certain way, and so this is working pretty good. Okay, am I done? Oh, I got one more here. I got this. Let's see. Let's look at my lines. Let me finish up here. Let's see. Oh, it's got like a little like empty spot in here. Can't even see in this purple area. Okay, I'm done. Okay, I'm gonna blow on it. Okay, so let's see what we got here. Wow, that's amazing! It is, it is. That's the cool, fun nature of the scratch board is we can scratch in these light details on these feathers and they look great. Notice how my lines are they're not like perfectly straight. They kind of curve a little. Like I said, that volumetric effect. And some of, and you know, I mean, don't be messy, but I was kind of not necessarily doing it fast, but I was kind of just in the groove, just kind of like making those lines. And they kind of feel more natural that way. So I don't know, just be careful, but it looks really good. I'm not going to do this wing, but you will also do this wing. It'll take forever if I show you. I already showed you how to do this one. So do this one as well. Now, what about these feathers down here? We have to figure out something to do. We kind of want to do something a little different than this. So let's see what we got here. Let's do a line here. Maybe another line. That's what we want to do. We want to curve it up like this. So that way these lines are horizontal. They're kind of going left to right. And they kind of help separate these bottom feathers to these feathers. Okay. And then I want to have some lines kind of just going down. Like a broom almost. Oh yeah, look at that. Yeah, so try to do something like that. So these lines kind of go left to right. Oh, I got one over here. And I have some lines in here. Okay, so wow, that wing looks great. What about these guys? Let's see. We kind of want to scratch them in, but we don't want to scratch them in like perfect dots. We want to kind of see some of that black texture detail in there. So let's see what we can do here. I'm going to go, okay, here's how we're going to do it. We don't want to go up. We want to go this way, but not perfectly straight. Now, if it's straight, that's fine. It's okay if you do it perfectly straight. But notice how the bottom of his body kind of curves. It's kind of like an angle, kind of like a smile, but not a big smile. And so we kind of want our lines to kind of follow that. They're not perfectly straight. So I don't know, let's see. So let's see, this one's going to be a little bit that way. This one's going to be a little bit that way. I'm kind of turning my paper a little bit, so these lines kind of curve. Let's see if you can see it. So it's like this one's kind of going this way a little bit. This one's going a little, it's kind of following this line. This one's going a little straighter. And then these ones are kind of going up a little bit. That's kind of hard to do, but if you can do it, try it, because it'll look nice. Okay, so I'm gonna go here. It's like a little bit of an angle. This one's a little straighter. This one's probably the straightest. Now this one's kind of turning the other way. So it's kind of turning the other way a little bit. And if you turn it a little too much, that's totally fine. Remember, these are just these are like texture lines, and you wanna try to get them inside those little ovals. And we want to try to create a real nice texture. Let's see here. Okay, so far so good. Oh my gosh, am I going to do all these? Let's see how much time do we have. We don't have a lot of time. I'm going to do them. Take your time. I'm going kind of fast so that you can kind of see the result. Okay, so there they are. So they're kind of like dots, but they're not perfectly solid. In fact, look, I can maybe make this one a little more solid, but you want to see those little kind of little bits of black in there, those little flecks of black texture. It looks better to have that texture than to have it like perfectly solid color, right? So because remember, owls they're made, they have feathers all over their body, and all the feathers have kind of this texture. So he doesn't have a real smooth, solid feather texture. It's kind of like a kind of there's like these lines, and it looks neat. It looks kind of detailed. Okay, I want to do the feet, but let's let's go to the face, and then we'll talk about the feet. Since it's easier right here, we have we got his beak here, and we want to try to create a light source. A light source is like when the light shines down and like lights our object or our animal, right? And so if the light is shining at an angle like this, and usually, I don't want to get too complicated, but if it's shining this way, it will light this part of his beak, but this part will be in shadow. And that's what we want to try to create a light effect. Okay, so here we go. So first, we're going to have some hatch lines. Hatch lines are these little lines, and we're going to kind of go down the center. Instead of just drawing a line straight down, we're going to kind of draw a line with these little horizontal lines, like this. I'll show you. They're like almost little dashed lines. Okay, can you see it? Kind of like, and then I can kind of go up to this one. Here I go, yeah. Notice how it curves a little bit. Remember how I was saying volumetric? His beak is kind of curved a little bit. I mean, it's not super curved. It's just a teeny bit curved, right? Now, this is going to be the lighter part. Now, remember, his nostril is going to be black, so don't cover in his nostril. And then over here, there's going to be less light. Okay, so now, how do we do it? Well, we're just going to use more of these lines. These are hatching lines. So watch, I'm going to go, and let's see. Now, I want to go around his nostril because I want to keep that part black, right? Because it's black. It's dark in there. And I'm using, instead of making it solid, I'm using a bunch of lines. These are called hatch lines. And this is hard, so just try. I mean, it'll be great. But I want to try to curve. I want to curve it a little so that it follows the form, the volume of that beak. Let me see. Can you see how it kind of bends a little? Why? Because his beak kind of bends that way. And I go, oh yeah, that looks pretty cool, Mr. Smith. I know. I've been doing this for years. But I know you guys are such a good class. I got a feeling you might be able to do that. Okay. Now, on this side, we don't want it to be totally black because we want to have a little bit of light over here. In fact, light will shine down, hit this side of this beak. It'll shine down and then reflect off of other part. Like light actually bounces off, and it kind of bounces back, and it kind of lights this area a little bit. Now, so we want a little bit of light in here, but not bright like this. So what do? Well, we just use fewer lines. We don't use as many. So watch, it might be hard to see because of the blue. But again, I'm just going to use fewer lines like that. There, see? So fewer lines. You're like, ooh, I don't like the way that looks, Mr. Smith. Well, it's only because we're only focusing on the nose. When we put lines all over the place, this will fit right in. Now, one more thing. When light reflects off of an object, it's actually brighter in here, okay? So that means there's going to be a little more light in here on the nostril. So watch. Let me see if I can do it so I can just show you closer. Let's see here. It's focusing. So in between each big line, I'm going to have like a shorter line. This is complicated, so if you don't get this, it's okay. I just kind of like added a little more of a line over here. Okay, so let's see here. That one kind of scratched through to the white. See these little lines in between? And when you look at it from far away, it kind of blends. It kind of like, oh yeah, it looks a little lighter here. That's hatching. Pretty neat, huh? Okay, so far that nose is pretty sweet. Here, I'm going to go around his nostril a little more just so you can kind of see like an outline. I'm going to go around this nostril too. That way you can kind of see that dark spot. Okay, great. That's amazing. Now, before we go to it, well, let's see. Should we do his cheeks? What time is it? We're running out of time. Oh my goodness. Let's do the cheeks. So again, we want to we were going to do lines, but we want to follow the shape of his cheeks. Now, remember, there's going to be like a shadow here. So like for this one, in fact, I'm going to draw a line first. So I'm just going to draw a line here. That way we know like this part's in shadow. Like his nose is kind of casting a shadow. And then here I'm going to have lines, and they're just going to curve. And I want them to be close together. There, see? I have lines, and notice how I didn't fill it in solid. There's just some lines. Because remember, owls have kind of they have a feathery texture, and there's a lot of details and lines. Pretty good, huh? Now, here's the trick. There's not going to be any pure black. I mean, well, we kind of want to avoid it. So we want to have a couple lines in here. So watch, I'm going to go like, but not as many as this, right? Because this is the highlight. So I'm going to go like 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 or 5. There. You're like, oh, that's kind of weird. Yeah. It looks weird because there's not a lot of other lines. But that way it's not like pure black. You're like, I don't get it, Mr. Smith. Anyways, you'll see. What it does is from a distance, if you, I can't move my picture far away, but from far away, these little lines make it look not so dark there. Okay, you're like, whatever, Mr. Smith. Now these lines can go all the way to the beak because remember the light is hitting this side. So watch, I'm just gonna draw them in here. So all right. Ooh, it's kind of hard to go all the way. Let's see. Don't worry if your lines aren't perfectly curved. Like see how some of mine are kind of getting wavy? That's actually kind of okay. I mean, you don't want to make them totally wavy on purpose, but if they are wavy, don't worry about it. It looks more organic. There. Okay, you're like, oh yeah, that looks cool. Now, because this is what you call a happy accident, meaning I didn't intend it to be this way, but see how it looks darker here? It looks darker. It's because these lines are thicker so that there's more light. These lines, it's just the way I was trying to move my paperclip. It got thinner here. And so these lines got thinner and it feels darker there. Kind of like this. Except this is like really, what's the word? It's kind of mechanical, but that's okay. Don't worry about it. Okay. So if I want this to be a little brighter, I can add just a, oh, it doesn't work very well. Maybe if I change the direction of my, yeah, I kind of have to change the direction. Okay. Now, if I really wanted this part to be brighter, you don't have to do this part. I just want to show you because you guys are so good. If I want this part to be a highlight, what I can do is I can add some more lines in here so that there's more light here, but only on part of it, like only like lines right in here. Now remember, you don't have to do this. I just want to show you the magic. So watch, short line, short line, short line. I'm kind of going in between those other lines. Short line, short line, short line, short line, short line. There, it's almost solid. Maybe a little short line here. There, see how that looks like a highlight? Looks brighter there. Like this looks brighter, this doesn't look as bright. And that kind of creates a highlight effect. Do you have to do that? No, I just wanted to show you the magic. That's the magic. It looks neat. Now again, it might not look perfect yet because we're looking at like all this blank area. And you're like, I don't know, Mr. Smith. But like if you look at that, you're like, oh yeah, that's pretty cool. It does. Okay, let's do this part. Oh, now remember, there's going to be a shadow under here, so I'm going to kind of put a line here. So there's a little bit of shadow under his eyebrow. So I'm going to go these lines, and these kind of follow that. There, look at that. So they kind of follow. There's a shadow there, so that's cool. And then we got one over here. Line, 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 line. Okay, looks good. Wow, he's really looking neat. I know, I know. Okay, so now it's hard to see, but there's kind of a wavy line in his eyebrow, and you probably traced it last time. So, oh, this is purple, so it's hard to see. So there's one there. There's one there. Let me see if I can get this one. I can barely see it myself. There's one there. Okay. So now, again, we want to have the highlights on the top. So watch, I'm going to do a lot of lines here. So a lot of lines close together. And notice how I'm kind of going at an angle. In fact, it would be kind of nice if it curved around. That's kind of hard to do, but if you spin your paper, eventually your lines will kind of curve and go the other way. If this doesn't work, just try your best. This This is tricky stuff. The only reason why I'm showing you this tricky stuff is because you guys are so good. Like some of my older students can't do that. I think it's because I don't know, they're lazy, I guess. Okay, let's look at it. Like, oh yeah, see how the lines kind of bend this way and then they bend this way? And it, like again, it feels that volumetric. Like, wow, it looks cool, Mr. Smith. I know what I'm talking about here. I know what I'm talking about. It's like your parents are watching. Wow, Mr. Smith actually knows what he's talking about. Yes, he does. He's been doing this for a long time. So again, see how I'm like turning my paper? And then that way the lines... Now, don't go all the way to his eye. You want to leave a little bit of a black spot. Like here. There, like that. Notice how I left a little bit of a black... It's like a thin triangle, but it's kind of like a line. That way it doesn't like totally turn into his eye. Like it kind of separates his eye from that. You're like, wow, Mr. Smith, that looks great. I know it does. Now, this is the dark area, but we don't want it to be too dark, right? Remember that reflective light? The light shines down, hits the top part, so that's the brightest. And then it bounces back from the floor or his feathers, and they kind of hit this. Now, this is brighter, but not the same bright. It's like it's still in shadow, but it's not as dark of a shadow. So we're just going to use less lines down here. So watch. Like you'll see, I'm totally going to skip. Let's see if I can do it. There. So less lines. It looks weird, Mr. Smith. Well, like I said, when there's lines everywhere, it won't look so weird. It just looks weird because there. Remember, if you look at it from a distance, these lines kind of blend in and it feels like a color. Not totally, but kind of. Okay, and while we're talking about that, let's add a couple lines down here, just a couple lines. And let's do it like this. So I'm going to go kind of like this, but not very many of them. Because it's kind of dark. It's a shadow down there, right? Because that's like underneath them. It's got these kind of lines going up. You're like, okay, cool. And then maybe I'm going to make this maybe a little bolder. Okay, good. Now let's move on to this stuff. Now we need to have, boy, these are kind of like these feathers. So let's add some, but they're kind of strange. So this thing, we got like a dot here. So let's just fill that in like the other ones. So dot, here's another dot, 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 dot. And then we have these feathers in there. So let's just make them like those feathers. They're a little different though. Okay, this one's really weird. How are we going to do that one? Well, let's do the lines. Now, for these, gosh, let me see if I show you. I'm just going to I just went in one direction, but I curved that way. So then this one, oh boy, how am I going to do it? I'm going to go this way. Okay. Oh, and I got a little up here. Okay, and then these are kind of tricky. Let's do them like this. Let's just do them, let's just follow that whole shape. There, so let's see. Oh, and I got to add these. Okay. Running out of time here. Okay. Well, it looks weird that he has these kind of feathers on his head and then all the rest is black. It feels weird. It's like it calls too much attention to these feathers and they just seem unusual. And so we want to add this similar detail on top of his head, and we kind of want to follow the shape of his head. So he's kind of got like this, it kind of curves in, and then this is kind of the center. I'm going to put a little line in there. Notice how my beak wasn't perfectly straight, so I improvised. I tried to bend it a little to make it look kind of like I meant it to be that way, but it doesn't have to perfectly line up to that. It would be nice if it did, but it's okay if you make a little mistake like that. Because like I said, when you add all your lines, you're just going to focus on all the beautiful texture and detail, and you're not even going to notice like little mistakes like that. Okay, but here's what we want to do. just like these lines, we want to kind of follow, but we want to stop at the feathers, right? Like we don't want to go over these other feathers. So watch, I'm going to have this line and it's going to kind of, but it kind of stops there. It's kind of like a, well, I want to say it's like his hair is parted. And it kind of is. But notice how I'm avoiding the feathers. So let's see here. So I can just do this. And they curve. Right? Let's see here. It's kind of hard to get it in here. But that's okay. Try your best. Like, I have full confidence in you guys. You guys are doing really good in my class. You don't know how stoked I am. You're going to make me look good. And you're going to look good. Okay. See how it curves? Volumetric, right? And he's like, oh yeah, it looks like it's rounded. Yeah, it does. It's kind of neat. That's the whole point. Okay, so now this one, it curves this way, right? So think of it like his hair is parted down the middle. All right, let's try this. So I'm going to curve this way. Now this would go like all the way over here, but remember, you're avoiding the feathers. Ooh, avoiding the feathers. I'm just going to kind of go here, and then this goes here. You can kind of tell it follows this curve. Okay, so let's see here. Okay. So this is called hatching. Hatch marks. I don't know why it's called hatching. It's a hatch. I don't know. That's what they call it. Cross hatching is when they cross over each other. We're not really doing that, but don't worry. That'll come up when you're, oh, now look, I have a space in between his eye here. I'm just going to keep drawing those lines, just kind of there. I just kind of filled them in. So let's see. Amazing, you say. Now I'm not going to do this. So you do this eyebrow like this one, right? So on the top, there's like more lines, they curve. On the bottom, there's not as many. So that looks good. Okay, so now we got to try one more thing. Remember how I said if we add some extra lines on the top, it'll look like the top of his head is a little brighter. Now, so notice how there's in between gaps in here. We want to add a little more of a line in there and a little more of a line in here. Notice how I didn't go all the way down, so I kind of stopped right by here. Okay, so then I'm going to add another little bit of a line here. Maybe that's all I need. Maybe in one right here. There. Okay, and then over here, looks like there's a big gap here. Like, so let's see, I'm going to go a little bit, another line in here. Let's see here. And then, oh, here I can add a line. Maybe another little line here. You can almost scratch it away. You know, maybe I should just make you scratch it away. So like, and then right here, I'm going to go, and then you can put one, like, see how there's a big gap here? I'm going to like, they call it blending. You want to kind of like add a little line in there. The trick is not to scratch too much away. But the top part of his head, there. Okay, I got to blow it. Okay, so here we go. So you're like, wow, that kind of looks like a highlight, Mr. Smith. Yeah. Here, I'm going to add a couple more lines in there. There. Kind of like what I did down here. You don't have to go all the way down, but just a little bit. Now, if you don't do that, that's okay, but he looks pretty good. Okay, finally, oh, we didn't do his feet. Oh, we'll do it. And it looks like, and you're looking at, so this looks, I have all these lines and it looks so detailed. And then you kind of look at this empty black area and you're like, I don't know, Mr. Smith, it looks like there should be some texture in here. I agree. I totally agree. The question is, what kind of texture are we going to do? Well, here's what I think we should do. We should do some of these lines that are not very many. So watch, here's what I'm going to do. And try not to go through your ovals. And try, let's see, we want to kind of curve, boy. I'm going to flip it like this. So I can kind of go, it's easier to kind of curve this way. So I'm going to go like curve, but not too many. Like, let's see, maybe oh, it's hard when there's these like ovals in the way, right? But you want to, like, don't go through your oval. Like, you kind of like put the lines, here's like another one. But see how there's not a lot of lines. Like over here, there's a lot of lines. But over here, not as many. And you're like, how come, Mr. Smith? How come there aren't as many lines? Because what happens is if you use less lines, there's less light. And it appears to be more like a darker value, and a darker value means like it's like a gray. It's not gray, it's color. It just means it's not as bright, it's darker. Darker value. There. Look at that. Do you remember what that looked like? You're like, oh yeah, it looks pretty neat. Now it looks neat because I curved it. So I kind of flipped it over because it's easier to curve this way than it is to curve like under, like a U. It's easier to curve like an N, right? Oh, you're like, wow, that looks great, Mr. I know it does. And yours is going to look amazing. Finally, let's get to the feet. So same thing. We want to have, okay, so again, we want to figure out where the light is hitting his feet. Now remember, there's like, there's a shadow on top of his feet. So like I'm going to kind of go here, like a little line here and maybe a little line here. Like this part should be kind of dark and maybe a little bit here. So this part is dark. And then this part is the highlight. And so you only want to go halfway. So let's see. And you want to curve it a little. I'm kind of curving it there halfway. I'm going to kind of curve it this way. No, okay. And curve it this way a little. Good. And then you want to kind of curve it a little here. And you're kind of going down his toes. Okay. And then over here, let's see, there's going to be a shadow here and here. And so, and then the shadow, the highlight, the light is on the same side. What is this? What side is this? This is well, from my view, this is the left. It's coming from the left. But on camera, does that look like the right to you? I don't know. Okay. Now you might want to trace around his toes a little more, just so that you can kind of see. Ooh, mine's getting kind of messy. So you can see the toes, the individual toes a little better. And it's okay if they're kind of lumpy and kind of, because owls, they don't have like neat little toes. They're like, they call them gnarled. They're like gnarly. They're like bumpy. Okay, finally, this looks pretty good. Finally, we want to add a few lines on the other side, but not as many as this side. So watch, I'm going to go like, not as many. Ooh, that was a lot of lines. So here I did too many. There. Let's see, can you see it? So not as many lines. And from a distance, that won't look as bright as this side, because this side has more lines, so it looks brighter. This has fewer lines, so it looks darker. The fewer lines, it'll look darker. And it might feel weird to put these little lines in there. Like, Mr. Smith, that looks, what's the word? It looks mechanical and artificial, you might say. Mr. Smith, that looks like a drawing convention. That looks like an artificial drawing convention. Wow, fourth grader, that's an eloquent way to put it. That's true. It is a drawing convention. But what happens is when you move your paper far away, and I mean far away, I can't do it at it, but like, let's say you put it on the wall and you kind of stand back, it's kind of like an illusion. Like if you have more lines, it'll look brighter, and your brain will kind of blend them in, because sometimes your brain doesn't want to think too hard. It's like, that's just brighter. And look at this, and you'd be like, those are lines, but I don't want to think about all those lines. So that's just not as bright. Trust me, I know what I'm talking about. But that's it. So we have a lot of texture. Don't forget, finish your wing, finish your eyebrow, add lines. If you want to add a couple extra lines, go for it. I don't care. But this is kind of what we're trying to do. And this looks pretty neat. Hopefully you enjoyed this. He looks really detailed. Don't forget, it's really important that you put your name on the back of your paper. And then put a letter for, like, so if you're in a How's class, you'll do like How, or like B for Brower, right? D-O for Denouden. So that's it. And then bring it to school and turn it in. But this isn't due until the 15th. But if you finish early, take your time. But if you finish early, you can bring it to school. And hopefully these will look really neat. And hopefully you had fun. So thanks for doing and make sure to finish it, right? So I hope you had fun, and I'll see you next time. Have a great week. Bye.